Hello, my bookhos. Are you ready for another wonderful romp through my fashion school adventures? If you've always been scared of making pants, I think this one is for you. Specifically, if you just have wanted to live in comfy, cozy pants all year, and you have like a favorite fabric that you're like, oh, I wish these pants existed in these fabrics, this might be the project that helps you make that dream become a reality, because it's the least scary pants pattern I've ever worked on, and I highly encourage you, if you've never done pants before, to try this. Welcome to Bookhoarding by Bianca. I'm Bianca, and this is my channel where I meander through the things that I'm doing in my kind of scattered trying to figure out what is life type of thing. I appreciate everyone so much for their patience. I know that in January I had some family things come up, so I haven't had my videos up, despite the fact that I literally recorded all the making of these pants in like December. So I apologize for the delay, but thank you so much for being here and so appreciate you for being patient. Pants have always been really scary for me, and the few times that I've attempted them in any way, it has taken me forever and been kind of a nightmare. I think the only successful kind of pant thing that I've done was actually a full bodysuit, and the only saving grace of that whole project was that it was just like 4-way stretch spandex, so there was nothing, like I had so much room for error and it was gonna be fine. One day I will make a full video on my Jade bodysuit. Before this knits class that I took last semester, I was the kind of person that not only were knits a frustrating fabric for me, but if I had to do a knit like pant, I would just end up on the floor under my sewing table in a mess along with my messy fabric, because I was just not good at using that fabric and not good at making it into things for the bottom part of my body. And yes, I took an entire class last semester that was just focused on sewing with knits and like the most basic things, and not just with sergers, but with like a home sewing machine and all the different ways to use that for different garments. So if you can take one of those classes near you, check it out. If not, here is my massive promo for using your library's connections. Hoopla is a book asset borrowing app that your library probably has a subscription to. So if you use your library card to log on to Hoopla, then you probably have access to the same classes I do, including, and this is literally not a paid ad, like I just need people to know this. Although like maybe I should hit up these people for paid ads at this point, because like I promote free resources all the time. Craftsy offers free classes through Hoopla. So if you have a library card, which is free, then you should have access to Craftsy courses, and there are at least 3 right now that deal with sergers and stretch and knit. So check those out, because those are like the freebie free things for you to check out around sewing with knits that can get you introduced to that if you can't take a class near you. My teacher that I had at like my local community college has taught one of the Craftsy courses on sewing with knits. I was assigned to the end of last semester to make a bottom of some kind. That could be pants or it could be a skirt, and I chose pants because I have spent more time in comfy cozy pants over the last however long the panini's been going on, and I figured this is the prime thing to kind of jumpstart me and get me more excited about actually making pants, because those are things that have terrified me. So this one is for you, fellow knit and pants scaredy cats, because I was you until I finally just tried this pattern, which is super easy and super forgiving, and I have loved it. So here's what you're gonna need for these pants. And yes, they do have pockets, because why else would we be making pants? So your materials are going to be not only like at least 2 yards or whatever you need of some cozy knit fabric, and knit in this like usage is not like I knitted this fabric. It is like the way that the fabric is made looks like knitting stuff. One day I'm going to go through more about sewing with knits, but not right now, but just look up knit fabrics and get an idea of what would work for your needs. You will need either a serger or an overlock stitch of some kind. So regular sewing machines, home sewing machines can do overlock stitches. Check out in your manual, look up your sewing machine manual. You can look it up online if you don't have yours, because I've lost all my manuals. You can look it up, and in that sewing manual it should tell you if you have an overlock stitch and what it looks like, where it is in your settings. And it also, like, if you look at your stitches, it might tell you this is best for these fabrics. So check out your sewing manual to get an idea of what's going to be good for you. I used elastic for my waistband because just a double layer of knit fabric is not enough to stay on these hips. So elastic if you think you're going to need it. The pattern itself didn't call for elastic, but I included it because not only was it a thing that like I learned to do easily in fashion school, but it was also a thing that I was like, you know what? I just prefer it because of the way my hips work and everything. Just it's going to be better for me. Speaking of the pattern, it is free. I used a free pattern from Mood Society. If you've heard of Mood, it is the fancy fashion fabric place. If you've ever watched Project Runway, like me, then it's one of those places that you're just like, ooh, one day I'll go there and be good enough to be able to afford beautiful fabrics. Mood has a separate blog space called Mood Society, yes, like sewing. And they have free resources and free patterns that you can download and use and modify. And I highly suggest the most basic ones for starter people who are not ready to maybe get into like more intense patterning, but like you just want to do foundational stuff. Highly recommend it. And they do a ton of stuff that's really seasonal, so they'll showcase previous patterns if it's like this thing is now in, like these kinds of trousers. So they'll showcase, like, they have hundreds if not thousands of patterns that are just free on their site. The way that you get them is you go to the pattern page and it gives you basic directions. They're not very thorough, I will say. And then you scroll through and it should say, like, to get this pattern, do this. And you're basically just signing up for their newsletter list. I can't hate on that as someone who has to get people to sign up for newsletters for work. Just put your email in and it'll go to your email. If it doesn't go immediately, try again the next day. Sometimes there's a little glitch, but like, check it out. Check out their free patterns. I will say too, their sizing is like a little all over the place. I didn't have trouble with this one because I did measure myself and I did check and this fit fine, and it's a knit pattern and stretch has some forgiveness. I think depending on the pattern maker, there might be more or less ease built into each pattern, so take that for what you will. I will say that this pattern fit me just fine as is. I just did the thing that I always have to do, which is I added the elastic to be a little bit more secure around my waist, because I don't know if it's like hip friction or what, but like my pants are always sliding down. And that's like not just me made pants. Pants that I buy from the store always slide down my hips. Editing Bianca here to say I forgot to name the pattern I used, so that's really useful. I used the Bria pants from Mood Society. There's also a Bria remix, so just pay attention when you're searching. All right. Now that we've gathered our materials, let's make it sew. Okay, we are making pants. So if you ever download a Mood pattern for free, you're going to need to do this process, which is laying out all your pieces once you print them and taping them and cutting them out to your size. So I just went ahead and started cutting out my pieces. And I think the big thing to remember about this too is measuring yourself and then making sure your measurements fit their size chart before you cut anything out. So Mood patterns come from Mood Fabric. They have like a Mood Society blog, and I've never been to a Mood store. I might have splurged and gotten a Mood fabric order for myself recently, which I will talk about maybe in the weeks to come. But basically, Mood Society is a really cool blog thing that they have free patterns on. And like, they come out with tons of really cool new ones that are based on current fashion trends a lot of the time. And they'll do little collections too. And they'll modify previous ones. And the thing about the patterns is that they have minimal direction. So if you are used to the big four pattern companies where you do have plenty of minute, do this, then do this next, and then press this, you're not necessarily going to have a ton of illustrations, or the blog usually does photos and not illustrations. So you will have photos instead of illustrations, but you're not going to have one for each step. And a lot of things get really condensed in a way that I feel like if you're a newer sewer, it might be harder for you to do a bigger project. So I'd say, for instance, if you've done pants before or a skirt before, then you might be ready to do Mood pants or a skirt. And I'm just saying, like, if you've had a hard time doing like complicated things. So this is a very uncomplicated pants pattern. It is a knit pant and it doesn't need a fly zipper. It is an elastic waistband. So if you've ever wanted to try pants, this is the first pair of pants I've ever made. and they came together like a breeze. I made a second pair of pants that used a mood pattern, which I will talk about later. But the TLDR is check out their free patterns, because they are a great starting point if you need a free pattern and you want to either try your hand at a garment you've never tried before and you don't want to pay for like a big 4 pattern, or if you also want to try doing basic block manipulation, because they're really good at like being able to do basics and go off there. Anyway, I cut out all my pattern out of my purple knit, and then I'll be using my serger, and I left the black in there because I only had white or black thread, and I left the black in there because I did a little test strip with some of the leftover purple fabric, and it seemed to be fine, so I did not stress about it at all and was just gonna run with it. The seam allowance is included on the Mood site, so please check that out. Oh no, that fabric's folded in under itself. I hope I catch that. Probably won't. Oh god. Cringe. Whatever. Mistakes get made. I'm making these pants, by the way, for one of my fall sewing classes that was sewing with knits. So this was, I think it was was it the final? It might have been the final assignment that I had for that class, which was making a bottoms of some kind. Anyway, so working with knits, I did a lot of pinning. I used my thinnest pins, I believe they're silk pins, potentially. Anyway, TBD. But I used my thinnest pins to keep things together because this fabric was really, really slippery, as you saw me just sewing over a fold right before this. So I'd say, depending on your fabric, you might not need pens, and like obviously too, you want to use pins that are not going to hurt the fabric. But regardless, first things you're going to sew up are the crotch for each side, and then after the crotch, you're going to sew in on the front the pockets, which you saw me serging a little bit earlier, some of the pockets together. But you're going to add those in, and because they're kind of like inset pockets, you have to do like a little bit of manipulation, which you can kind of see here in my grainy video. We have to sew it to the front, and then the side gets sewn into the backs. Anyway, so you do the crotch area for both, and then you do the sides. After you do the pockets, and then you do the sides. So I'm serging every single one of my seams here because I could, and I felt like it was the easiest thing for this fabric that was very, I don't know. It was okay. I got it for like a holdo costume, but then I realized I didn't really want to have to make a holdo costume because when am I going to wear a holdo costume? So I have enough of this to make like a casual holdo dress, which I probably will do. But anyway, I digress. Chill fabric, chill project. So after you've done the outside sides together, then you just serge the insides together. And what I actually did was I started at the center and then worked my way out from the crotch out to the legs. So that's just an FYI. And yes, these are meant to be baggier pants. So that's why these are the way they are. The next thing you do is the waistband. And I did it one of the ways I was taught in class, which is basically I serged this to a waistband, and I like separated this into like halves and quarters, and then I serged the waistband into the folded over part. So then it was like one serging and then another one right on top of it, if that makes sense. The big thing is you don't want to serge through the elastic, and that's just like a note, an FYI. If you never serged with an elastic thing, don't serge through it. But you can see more of what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about serging along the edge. So I've pinned this in, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch the I'm going to stretch the elastic, the black elastic of the waistband, which is exactly fitting my waistband, if that makes sense. Like where it's going to hit on me, that elastic fits that. And then the purple part of the waistband is from the pattern, and it's a little bit baggier on me. And I will say too, the Mood pattern doesn't call for inserting elastic at all. I found the Mood pattern to be a little bit wider on the waist without the elastic in the waistband. So I added it because A, I needed to add it for my class parameters, but B, I
liked having it because I feel like it actually made the pants securely stay on me because of the fabric I was using. I feel like if I had used like a hardier, heavier knit, I wouldn't feel this way. But I digress. Anyway, so you just serge and you gently pull on that black elastic so it does match up with the purple knit, and I'm trying not to stretch that purple knit at all. So I'm just stretching the black into the quarters that I put in with my pins earlier to demarcate the quarters of the fabric. And then this was the hardest part. So after I serged the elastic into the waistband on one side, then I needed to put it into the pants itself. So now I have pinned through the 2 layers of the purple knit on the waistband, the 1 layer of the black elastic, and then the pants as well.
And now let's take a look at the finished pants, which I'm wearing right now with this knit crop top that I just made myself last weekend because I just want to wear comfy clothes all the time now. And you can probably tell that I did not iron or throw these in the dryer before filming. That's because they are just now in my rotation of clothing. I also, again, have the little label on the outside of it. I want my labels on stuff that I made. I don't want it inside of things that I made because then it's itchy and then I feel it and So these pants were so loved at my house that I actually have 4 pairs of pants that I'm making from the same pattern for my family. I think it's an extremely forgiving pattern because you don't have to sew like the little front crotch thing on pants. I don't know the name of it. It has pockets. If you've never done pockets, this is a pretty easy thing. I will say it is a little finicky with like the knit to make sure that the sides of the pocket don't stray off the line as you're serging it. But like in terms of just easy to put together and easy enough to like adjust as needed for your body, I think these were true to size and fit really great. And they're comfy. Like I just want to wear these pants and just chill in these pants. I want to record videos in these pants. I just want to be in these pants. With that said, my hints for upcoming content, because I actually have stuff that I've filmed from earlier in this year that I have not finished putting together, but you're gonna see more pants from me because I conquered my fear of pants. And the next pants you're going to see from me are actually much more fitted. And that was terrifying for me because, and I'll get into it I'm sure in that video, I am a short and very curvy, very round girl. But I'll walk you through what I did. I think that pant pattern as far as like a trouser pattern will be really fun and a good next step for folks who want to go from this really basic, very forgiving pant to a slightly more structured pant that does need some more advanced skills. But I think like once you get the like zipper area, I don't remember the name of it, like whatever. Once you get past that, I think everything else goes really smoothly in that pant. And then maybe too, I'll cover just making like using an existing garment that fit me really well to make a sloper for knit patterns for myself. But that's probably gonna be maybe closer to summer, maybe mid-spring. Before I go into making many more knits clothing, I actually want to ask you, my audience, my bookhos, what questions do you have about sewing with knits? Because I literally just took a whole course on it, and I want to give you as many resources as I have, but I want to give it to you like if you actually A, want that information, and B, in a way that like makes sense for your question. I'm very much a person, because of the nature of my jobs, I work backwards based on what users were asking for, and I try to deliver that in content form, and I want to do that here too. So please leave your questions about sewing with knits, your fears about sewing with knits, your tips for sewing with knits, because I'd love to share your tips too, your cheats, any of those things. And at some point in the future, I'm going to put together a video that answers all those questions about sewing with knits, And I'll probably do like smaller videos that go through the process of like binding edges and doing the waistbands the way that I did them. I want to say thank you so much for being here, and embrace the cozy, because like honestly, like yes, I am showing some belly. I do not care. I am at home. I have panini belly. I don't care. I'm embracing myself. This is my body. Because of that, I'm not gonna make clothes that like hide that, because why? Why would I do that? This is mine. This is my body, and I'm going to embrace it and put it out into the world of my house so that me, my partner, and my rabbits can see my pasty belly. With that being said, thank you for joining me. Please check out my Patreon and my Ko-fi if you want to leave me a tip. Patrons, please make sure that you watch my latest patron-only video, what Jane Austen characters would wear socks while having sex. It is one of my favorite fun one-off videos that I've done recently that's just for patrons, so check that out. You have to be at a certain tier and above. I think it's Lizzie Bennett tier and above to have patron-only content. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate everyone putting up with me and my random shenanigans, my sewing shenanigans. Thank you for joining me, and don't forget to make it so. I'm like looking over my to-do list and I still have Christmas gifts up there. Like, what have I been doing with my life?